Ladies and gentlemen, average has a sound, it has a smell, it walks slowly. It second guesses, bows its head, it blends into the crowd, hoping no one sees, hoping no one calls its name. But you were not born for that. Somewhere, deep down, you already know this. Oh yes, the world tried to name you. Tried to file you in a cabinet marked ordinary. They called you just enough. Maybe later. Not quite. But I came here today to remind you of heaven's handwriting on your life. You were born with purpose. With glory in your bones and destiny in your breath. You may have fallen, but listen to me. You did not fall from grace, you fell into it. And the very dirt you landed in, that's where seeds grow. You thought it was a burial. No, it was a planting. So rise not in arrogance but in divine authority. You weren't meant to crawl when you were designed to soar. Eagles do not take counsel from chickens. You are not a prisoner of your past. You are a carrier of possibility. The power that created galaxies lives in you. Don't insult that glory by settling for a life of mediocrity. Average is a lie. You are the exception. You are the disruption. You are the breaking of generational curses. You are the breath of fresh wine in a room that's gone stale. You are evidence that the impossible can happen. You were not born to be average. From the moment you took your first breath, something sacred stirred in the atmosphere. The heavens didn't side with indifference. They rejoiced. There was a divine announcement, invisible but undeniable. You are here for a reason. Not a small reason. Not a quiet one. A reason that matters. A reason that shakes things. And yet the world has spent every moment since trying to convince you otherwise. Average is the slow poison they serve us daily. It hides in polite conversation. It whispers, stay safe. It smiles and says, that's good enough. It teaches you to aim just low enough to never fail, but just low enough to never fly. And somehow, so many of us buy into it. We adjust our dreams to fit other people's comfort zones. We edit our voices so they don't sound too bold. We shrink to fit into spaces never designed to contain the fullness of who we are. But I say to you now, no more. You weren't designed to blend in. You weren't crafted in heaven's womb to become a footnote in someone else's story. You were born to disrupt. You were born to rise. You were born to wake up rooms, to steer souls, to carry a frequency that can't be imitated or duplicated. There is only one of you in all of time, and average could never carry the weight of that miracle. Think about it. How many moments in your life did you feel that stirring? That subtle ache in your chest? The one that told you this isn't it. The job, the routine, the applause that wasn't enough. The place where you felt your soul dulling. That wasn't dissatisfaction. That was destiny shaking you, reminding you that you weren't made for this cage. That deep knowing inside. It was never wrong. You were just surrounded by a world too afraid to believe in something greater. You see, average is the comfort zone of the wary. It's the anthem of those who gave up on greatness and convinced themselves that survival was the goal. But you were not born to survive. You were born to to live in boldness, in vision, in wild, burning truth. There is more in you than you've seen, and it's not potential. It's power. It's presence. It's a call that refuses to let you settle. When you forget who you are, the world suffers. Because someone, somewhere is waiting for your voice to unlock their own. Someone is waiting to see what it looks like when one human being refuses to bow to average. When one soul decides that playing small is not holy, not humble, and not acceptable. Average is not your inheritance. You are not the result of random atoms or a cosmic accident. You were formed with intention, spoken into time, designed with glory. Average was never in the blueprint. And deep down, you've always known this. That's why you've never quite fit in. That's why the things that satisfy others make you restless. That's why you see possibilities where others see limits. It's not arrogance. It's awareness. It's a memory buried in your bones, that you were born with something sacred, something fierce, something eternal, something that cannot be tamed by the ordinary. Purpose is written in your DNA. Before you spoke a word, before you understood your own name, purpose was already woven into the fabric of your being, not stitched loosely, not pasted on as an afterthought, but embedded, deep, permanent, undeniable. It's not something you find by accident. It's something you remember, because it's always been there. Written in the invisible ink of eternity, hidden not from you, but for you. There is a language your soul speaks that no one taught you. A knowing that cannot be explained by education, background, or logic. It's what you feel when you watch someone else walk in their calling and your heart burns. Not with envy, with recognition. That fire inside you. That's purpose. Trying to break through the noise of your past, the pain of your delays, and the pressure to be like everyone else. You are not a random collection of traits and talents. You are not a copy of anyone who came before. You carry blueprints no one else has seen. You were sent here on assignment. And the clues, they are everywhere. In your passions, in your pain, in the way your heart breaks for things others ignore, in the restlessness that won't let you sleep at night, in the way you light up when you're doing what you were created to do, even when no one is watching. Purpose is not a destination, it's a design. It's the reason why your fingerprints are unlike any others. It's why your voice carries a tone that only your spirit can produce. It's why certain people, places, and problems seem to call out to you. Your life was meant to answer something specific. You were sent as a solution. You were born to complete a sentence the world didn't know it was missing. There's a reason you didn't fit in. There's a reason you couldn't follow the crowd and feel fulfilled. Purpose resists imitation. It demands authenticity. It will not be silenced by expectation, and it will not be satisfied with safe. You can try to run from it, numb it, bury it under other people's dreams, but it will not die, because it's not beyond you. It's eyeing you. Your DNA carries divine instruction. It whispers, even when you're tired. It rises even when you failed. It keeps calling you back to the path, back to the vision, back to the truth you tried to forget. No amount of detours can erase it. No amount of time can diminish it. What was written into your very being cannot be overwritten by fear, by failure, or by the opinions of others. And here's the mystery. Purpose doesn't always feel powerful. Sometimes it feels ordinary. It shows up in the small things, the quiet urges, the consistent pull towards something more. It's not always a burning bush. Sometimes it's a whisper that refuses to leave. But it's real. And the more you lean into it, the louder it becomes. The world may not recognize it at first. People may not applaud it. But purpose isn't waiting for permission. It doesn't ask if it's convenient. It simply is. And the sooner you surrender to it, the sooner you come alive. You don't have to invent who you are. You only have to awaken to it. Because it was always there, sleeping beneath the surface, waiting for the moment when you would stop chasing average and start walking in the truth that was hardwired into your spirit. Your fall was not a burial. It was a planting. There are moments in life that feel final. The job that slipped through your fingers. The relationship that shattered without warning. The dream that didn't just die. It exploded in front of you. And when it happened, you felt the weight of failure press down on your chest like a stone. You heard the whispers that said, "This is the end." But let me tell you the truth, those whispers don't want you to know it wasn't the end. It wasn't a death. It was a seed being placed in the soil. It wasn't over. It was the beginning of something deeper, something stronger, something unseen. Burial and planting look the same to the untrained eye. Both involve darkness. Both involve being covered. Both feel like isolation. But only one leads to life. Only one breaks open and becomes more than it was. When you were brought low, when you were hidden, when no one could see your worth or your effort, it wasn't punishment. It was preparation. It was transformation happening below the surface, in silence, in obscurity. And even though no one else could see it, something sacred was happening in that hidden place. Because the soil doesn't destroy the seed. It activates it. And the same pressure that made you question your value was the very pressure pushing your roots deeper. The loneliness, the silence, the feeling of being forgotten. It was never wasted. Not one moment of your pain was meaningless. Every tear watered your future. Every disappointment carved out space inside you for more depth, more wisdom, more resilience. People around you may have thought it was over for you. Some may have walked away. Some may have looked at your losses and written you off. But they didn't understand that some things must break before they can bloom. They didn't know that growth begins in darkness. And they certainly didn't realize that you were being planted for a greater season. When a seed is planted, it doesn't look powerful. It looks small, buried, insignificant. But locked inside is an unshakable design. It knows what it's meant to become, even if no one else does. And so do you. You may not feel strong, but strength is being built within. You may not feel worthy, but worth is not a feeling. It's your truth. And even though the world may not see the full picture yet, what's forming beneath the surface is unstoppable. That fall, the one you thought you'd never recover from, is not the end of your story. It's the moment the soil took you in, wrapped its arms around you, and began to do what only pressure, silence, and time can do. You didn't break for nothing. You broke open so that something greater could take root. And even though everything looked like loss, what actually happened was multiplication. What died was only what couldn't go with you. What remained was the core of who you really are, ready to grow, ready to rise. So don't curse the soil. Don't despise the season that felt like death. Because the ground where you fell is the same ground that will carry your rise. Something within you survived the fall. Something within you chose to stay, chose to hope, chose to believe again. And that something is enough to break through the surface. That something is enough to rise, not in spite of your fall, but because of it. Rise with divine authority, not ego. There is a power inside you that does not come from titles, applause, or achievement. It is not loud and it does not boast. It doesn't need attention to exist. This kind of power comes from knowing who you are and whose you are. It is rooted in something unshakable, untouched by trends, untouched by praise, and untouched by doubt. It is authority, quiet, certain, immovable, and it is not something you earn. It is something you remember. Ego rises to be seen. It shouts, it competes, it demands. It stands on stages looking for validation, always needing more, always afraid of less. But divine authority rises because it was called. It doesn't strive, it doesn't prove. It simply shows up and shifts the room because it carries the weight of purpose behind it. It doesn't need a spotlight because it is light. It walks into chaos and brings peace. It walks into confusion and speaks clarity. It doesn't push its way forward, it flows forward, unstoppable, like destiny walking on 2 feet. This world often confuses arrogance for strength. It teaches you to puff up, to perform, to pretend. But ego is fragile, it cracks under pressure. It crumbles without affirmation. And when things fall apart, it runs. But divine authority, it stands. It endures, it leans on something greater than self. It comes not from self-confidence, but from ours God confidences. A trust that you were sent, that you are backed by something eternal, and that you have nothing to prove because truth proves itself. You were not called to rise through comparison. You were called to rise through conviction. You don't need to be better than anyone. You need to be fully you. Divine authority does not compete, it completes. It does not react, it responds. And when you move in it, you begin to operate on a level that cannot be shaken by circumstance or criticism. You begin to know when to speak and when to stay silent, when to fight and when to stand still, when to build and when to wait, because divine authority is deeply aligned with timing. It doesn't rush, it moves with certainty. This authority isn't loud, but it is bold. It doesn't need to announce itself. It reveals itself in how you carry your pain, in how you treat others when no one is watching, in how you keep going after every door closes, in how you forgive when no one says sorry, in how you choose integrity when compromise would be easier. That's power. That's what makes demons nervous and darkness tremble. You weren't meant to shrink to fit people's expectations. But you also weren't meant to inflate yourself to impress them. You were meant to walk in the confidence that comes from alignment, with heaven, with your purpose, with your truth. That alignment creates impact. That alignment releases favor. That alignment changes everything. Ego says, look at me. Divine authority says, look what's flowing through me. Ego demands attention. Divine authority commands respect without ever asking for it. And once you rise in that kind of power, you no longer chase influence. You become influence. You no longer seek validation. You realize you were validated before you were born. You don't need a crown to be royalty. You don't need a stage to have a message. You don't need followers to have an assignment. What you need is remembrance. Remember who you are. Remember the source of your breath, the fire in your bones, the call that refuses to leave. Remember that you were not made to strive. You were made to stand. Not above others, but rooted in something eternal. Eagles don't take counsel from chickens, not because they think they are better, but because they know who they are. They know what they were born to do. They know what altitude they were designed to reach. And when you are built for the skies, you do not waste time debating your wings with creatures who have never left the ground. There is a difference between humility and misalignment. Staying grounded in character is not the same as staying grounded in purpose. You can be humble and still soar. You can be kind and still rise above opinions that were never qualified to shape your future. You were not meant to live your life based on the fears of those who've never dared to fly. Some people speak only from their limits, not from your potential. They will project their ceilings onto your sky. They'll tell you it's too risky, too much, too fast. But they're not the ones who've been carrying that vision inside their chest. They didn't wake up with the fire. They didn't feel the weight of the dream. They don't know what it's like to lie awake at night feeling called to something you can't yet explain. So no, you don't need to be rude, but you do need to be clear. Not every voice deserves access to your vision. An eagle doesn't argue with creatures who cannot comprehend the view from above. It flies, it lets altitude silence the noise. And sometimes that's what you must do. Let your rise speak for itself. Let your transformation be the response. Let your success be the full sentence after their doubts. Some conversations don't need a rebuttal. They need distance. Not out of pride, but out of clarity. When you start walking in your calling, you will attract all kinds of opinions. Not all of them come to encourage you. Some come to tether you. Some come to keep you within the lines they feel comfortable with. But you are not called to live a life that makes everyone comfortable. You are not called to edit your brilliance to protect someone else's insecurity. You were not called to remain small so others don't feel left behind. You were called to rise, to grow, to reach. And if that climb makes others question you, so be it. Eagles recognize that not every environment is safe for expansion. There are places that will celebrate your survival but fear your success. Places that will tolerate your presence as long as you stay predictable. But when you begin to stretch your wings, when you begin to move in the authority and grace you were given, those same environments may shift. Do not shrink to maintain peace in spaces that were never built for your purpose. Not everyone can go where you're going. That's not arrogance, it's reality. The higher you climb, the fewer the voices you can carry with you. That doesn't mean you stop loving people. It means you start loving your calling enough to protect it. Because the wrong voices can delay the right vision. The wrong perspectives can drown out the whisper of destiny. And when you were born to fly, staying earthbound is a betrayal of everything sacred within you. You don't need permission to evolve. You don't need approval to rise. What you need is discernment. Discernment to know which voices to honor and which to release. Some counsel comes from wisdom. Some comes from fear. Know the difference. Eagles do not hate chickens, they just don't take direction from them. They fly, and in flying they honor their design. Average is a lie, you are the exception. From the time we're young, the world teaches us to conform, to stay within lines, to aim for the middle ground where it's safe, predictable, and accepted. They hand out rules like they're universal truths, defining success by statistics, behavior by patterns, and potential by precedent. But what they don't tell you is that the rules weren't made for someone like you. You don't fit the mold because you weren't made from it. The moment you try to blend in, something in you starts to ache. Not because you're flawed, but because you're extraordinary pretending to be ordinary. Average is a comfortable illusion. It's a box wrapped in logic and sealed with fear. It tells you to aim for what's realistic, to think small, to be grateful for a taste when you were created for the table. It calls itself wisdom, but it's often just dressed up fear. It convinces people to bury dreams they haven't even tried to reach for. It whispers that going beyond is for others, special people, chosen ones, but not you. And yet deep down something in your spirit knows it's a lie. You are not average, you are not common. You carry fingerprints that have never existed before and will never exist again. You carry vision, sound, presence, and fire that the world hasn't seen until you walked into it. What lives inside you doesn't belong to the category of typical. It was never meant to be measured by averages or bound by comparisons. It was meant to disrupt, to elevate, to bring color to gray places, to speak where silence has ruled for too long. The truth is, most people will spend their lives negotiating with their greatness, trying to bring it down to a level that feels manageable. But you can't tame a wildfire without killing it. And your calling was never meant to be manageable. It was meant to stretch you. It was meant to pull you beyond what you thought possible. It was meant to break through the ceilings average built and call you into rooms where logic bows to faith and comfort is replaced by courage. Being the exception doesn't mean you walk without fear. It means you walk through fear because what's in front of you matters too much to turn back. It means saying yes when everyone else says wait. It means building when there's no blueprint. It means speaking when your voice shakes, moving when the way isn't clear, and trusting that what's planted inside you is enough to break through any limitation placed on you. The world will try to size you up, to run you through systems and decide your worth based on numbers, credentials, and trends. But there is no algorithm for destiny. There is no equation for purpose. There is only obedience to what you know is true, even if no one else sees it yet. You must learn to believe in yourself at a level that feels unreasonable. You must decide that even if it looks impossible, it's possible for you. Because you are not most people. You are not the statistic. You are not the rule. You are the exception that changes the story. Stop apologizing for your fire. Stop dimming your light so others won't feel blind. Stop choosing average because it's easier to be accepted than it is to be exceptional. The cost of average is too high. It will rob you of your voice, your impact, and your joy. But the moment you step out of the narrative the world tried to write for you, the real story begins. The moment you stop trying to belong where you don't fit, you begin to take shape as the original you were always meant to be. The fire in you was not meant to be extinguished by fear. Fear wears many faces. It shows up as hesitation, as overthinking, as procrastination dressed in logic. It speaks in a soft voice sometimes, one that sounds wise and cautious. It tells you to wait for the right time, the perfect condition, the guaranteed outcome. But while fear speaks safety, what it often delivers is stagnation. And if you are not careful, it will wrap around your fire and suffocate it slowly until you forget that you were ever burning at all. But that fire, that inner roar, that deep knowing, that pull you feel even when everything looks uncertain, it is sacred. It's not noise. It's not foolishness. It's not rebellion. It's divine. You were born with it. It was placed inside you not to make you comfortable, but to make you move, to rise, to break limits, to confront everything that says you can't with a steady, unwavering, I must. It doesn't always make sense to others. It won't always be understood by people who have learned to survive without fire. But that's not your burden to carry. You were never meant to be lukewarm. You were never called to the sidelines of your own life, watching others run while you second-guess your steps. You were made to be bold. You were made to burn so brightly that even your silence speaks power. But fear tries to convince you that boldness is too much, that confidence is arrogance, that faith is reckless. It lies, because fear knows it loses its grip the moment you stop shrinking. The fire in you is not chaos, it is clarity. It is not rebellion, it is revelation. It is the evidence of purpose. It is the sound of heaven echoing through your very being, telling you there is more in you, more for you, more waiting on the other side of the wall fear built. And no, it won't always be easy. Fire refines as it burns. It will test you, stretch you, and make you face yourself. But it will also free you. It will make you alive in a way that comfort never can. You do not need to wait until you feel ready. You do not need every detail to be clear. The fire doesn't wait for logic, it demands trust. It invites you to leap when others would settle, to try again when others would walk away, to risk being misunderstood in order to be fully alive. You will never become who you were created to be by playing small, playing safe, playing dead. You become it by choosing the fire, even when it costs you certainty. And yes, fear will show up. It always does. It knows your name. It knows your weaknesses. But it doesn't know your endurance. It doesn't know your fight. It doesn't know the depth of your calling or the power of your spirit. Fear is loud, but it is not final. It may walk beside you, but it does not have the right to lead. You were not created to bow to it. You were created to rise through it. Your fire is the proof that you are not ordinary. It's the sign that you carry something that matters, something that must be brought forth into the world. And no matter how dark it gets, no matter how long you've sat in doubt, no matter how many times you've questioned your strength, the fire is still there, flickering, waiting, ready, because it was never meant to be extinguished. It was meant to grow, to blaze, to illuminate the path not just for you, but for others who've forgotten they carry fire too. There is a sound your life was meant to release that no one else can echo. You were not born to be a copy. You were not placed on this earth to be an echo of someone else's success, someone else's voice, someone else's way of doing things. There is something uniquely divine about your presence, your voice, your perspective. The way your spirit moves through the world was never meant to blend in. You are not here to replicate. You are here to release, to let loose a sound that can't be mimicked, one that can't be contained, one that can't be silenced no matter how long it's been buried beneath fear, doubt, or delay. This sound isn't always literal. It's the expression of your soul. It's the way you write, the way you build, the way you love, the way you lead. It's the energy you bring into every room, the fire in your eyes when you're aligned with purpose, the resonance of your story when you speak from the places you thought would destroy you. And no matter how many people may seem to do what you do, no one can carry it the way you were designed to carry it. No one can release what's locked inside you. But the world will try to convince you that your sound must be shaped into something safe. It will suggest that your expression is too bold, too raw, too loud, too different. And if you're not careful, you will begin to adjust your frequency to fit into a system that never had room for your originality. You'll begin to mute yourself to make others comfortable, to gain approval, to avoid rejection. And slowly, without realizing it, you'll forget what your sound even was. You were never called to mimic the rhythms of the crowd. You were called to carry a note from heaven, an unrepeatable sound that breaks chains, wakes sleeping dreams, and awakens the bones of those who've forgotten how to live. This isn't about volume, it's about vibration. It's about walking in such alignment with your truth that everything around you begins to shift. Your sound isn't just heard, it's felt. It moves people. It stirs the atmosphere. It causes others to remember who they are. When you silence your voice, the world loses more than a sound. It loses healing, insight, disruption, beauty, and fire. You were meant to disturb the silence, to shake the dust, to declare something different by the very way you exist. The enemy of your soul doesn't fear your presence. He fears your release. He fears the moment you stop holding back. He fears the moment you open your mouth and say the thing, build the thing, write the thing, be the thing. Because when you do, chains break. When you do, something eternal moves through you. There is no formula for authenticity. There is no blueprint for the kind of resonance that is born from truth. You will never find it by imitating others. You will never unlock it by waiting for permission. You have to be willing to step into the unknown, to sound different, to look different, to trust that what you carry is not just wanted, it is needed. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs the sound of real, the sound of healing, the sound of freedom, the sound of you. And you don't need to know the whole path before you begin. All you need is to say yes to your sound, yes to what wants to come through you. Yes to the stir in your belly, the dream in your spirit, the truth in your bones. You are not here to perform. You are here to pour. You are here to resonate. You are here to release something only you can carry. You were not born to be average. You were born to be exceptional. Born to rise, to burn, to soar, to break patterns and disrupt the silence with a sound only you can release. Every limit that tried to define you, every voice that told you to shrink, every fear that whispered, "Not you," was only afraid of what would happen if you ever believed the truth, that you carry divine power not for performance but for purpose. This world does not need another imitation. It needs your fire, your voice, your authority, your rise. Don't dim it. Don't delay it. You were sent to shift things. And the moment you stop apologizing for your greatness is the moment the atmosphere begins to change. So stand, speak, build, move, not later. Now the world has waited long enough.